Hey, good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to another one of my morning mantras. As you might have guessed, given the foliage and the beautiful trees around, that I am in this inspirational city of Bangalore. This city never ceases to amaze me. It inspires me a lot to think a bit every time I'm in the city. Perhaps it's got to do with the weather, definitely so. Maybe more so for the lovely people in town, right? And of course, the tech and AI competence and prowess that exists, or perhaps just for that amazing filter coffee, especially the ones that you get on the roadside, right? So, folks, I just wanted to share a few lessons that kind of inspired me during this beautiful Saturday morning as I walked around in this lovely weather in this beautiful city, right? So, when Jaya, God bless her, wrote that article a few months back around context being the next $1 trillion opportunity, that got my mind thinking. I started talking to a lot of folks, reading a lot about it, kind of inspired me to think, how does that impact the enterprise context, right? To some extent, the context in enterprises was missing. Something was missing there, right? So, the idea was to start digging into it. After so many months now of reading and interacting, and even recently, I have come to the conclusion that the harness, besides the LLM, I mean, LLM is at the heart, but the harness and the context engineering, if done properly along with the LLM, are what could give us the superpowers we need, especially in the enterprise context, right? That was one. Second, if you just put agents on a job and they recursively just perform that job again and again, that kind of is akin to the erstwhile robotic process automation, right? So what is the difference with agents and AI as respect to just, robotic process automation? And one of the key things there is feedback, right? So what we need to do is, as humans, every agent is given a goal, right? For that goal, we should set a rubric of outcomes. This is what we are looking at. Then get the agents to work through what they have to do. And at the end of every such turn, they should look at an eval, which basically checks the output of the agent against these outcomes, which are embedded in the eval. And then if it is a go, you're out. If not, you keep improving, right? So that self kind of improving loop is what will make AI, different from robotic process automation, something that we need to think about, right? The other learning I got recently was it's not just the SOPs that you feed the agents, it's also the quirks that exist in every business, right? Every day-to-day, in a day-to-day workflow in a business, there are these quirks, right? So we got to feed this technically through the memory that I know, long-term and short-term, but how exactly to garner these quirks is something that still eludes me, something perhaps if somebody out there has some ideas, please do share in your comments, right? So, feedback loop, quirks, kind of embedded into memories, and then memories organized into experiences when, the agents have some kind of a downtime, right? So this was one set of learnings around the context. Yeah, the other one, one of our friends from the banking industry shared recently was, if you just put AI into existing processes, to power existing processes, you of course get up to 30-40% improvements, but it's like putting a jet engine on a horse cart, is the way he put it. I really like that, given the industry that I've had passion for so many years. But it's about the idea, or the learning is about reimagining business processes before you put AI. Easy said than done, very difficult to actually do, especially if you've got like loads of experience. It acts as a deterrent to reimagining, but I fully take the point, right, that it is so important to do, right? Then the other third learning was there is this kind of sexy AI, or the next generation of generative AI and agents. What about ML, the old classical ML and optimizers? I guess the learning I got recently was a wonderful consonance of, probabilistic AI, deterministic OR, and a fantastic human in the loop is perhaps the mantra to really hit those exponential kind of outcomes for your enterprise, right? So think of orchestrating these three rather than just relying on the newest kid on the block, right? You've always heard me say this, data is the introvert. It needs to be sorted. You need to keep calm and carry on. But it's a typically has been a long-winded journey, right? So, in a discussion with a few folks, I was exploring, has something changed there? Can data be also, the data problem for enterprises be solved with AI? I must say, there are two amazing folks I met in the last 2 weeks, both of whom have inspired me to think that yes, it can be done. The whole enterprise knowledge graph, the entire data management in real time or otherwise, can be helped by putting dedicated agents for every data domain. Something I need to explore a bit and see how that pans out, right? So listen, folks, a lot of learning in this lovely city of, Bangalore. You can just look at it. It's so pretty, right? The whole place is so inspirational. It kind of gets you thinking and kind of gets you inspired. So as I, walk around a bit, reflecting on all these learnings, I hope this mantra has helped titillate a few neurons in your amazing neural network at the top, right? And please do put in your thoughts around context and harness engineering, around the need for feedback loops, around the need to get memory for quirks, around any of the ideas and inspirations that I have kind of shared with all of you in the mantra. And while you do that, and as I enjoy this few hours in amazing Bangalore, I wish you all the best and keep calm and keep curious. Thank you, folks.